everybody, and thank you for joining me. I'm at the Elsecar Heritage Centre, which is located in the Labour stronghold of Barnsley. This area is rightfully proud of its coal mining heritage, and the Elsecar Heritage Centre, as you can see behind me, represents that. This is a proud working class Labour area. And Barnsley is a working class town, unlike Brighton. By the way, Brighton is probably the most middle class area in the south of England. So it's a very surprising location that the Labour Party decided that would be the location for their conference. And my, what a pantomime we have seen at this Labour Party conference. You couldn't make it up, but they said too many white men was raising their hands to ask questions. So they said, no more white men, we will only take questions from ethnic minorities, be them man or woman or women. Now, I would imagine the Labour Party conference in a majority white country like Great Britain would have quite a lot. That's quite a big chunk of people who they was refusing to even give them an opportunity to ask questions. These are Labour members. They've attended the conference. They have the right to at least raise their hand. But no. The walkery we have seen at the Labour Party conference is quite amazing. I'm going to show you a clip now. The clip's from a guy called Tory calls himself, and he is openly a far left wing Marxist. He's openly on the far left. He's a Marxist, and I'm going to show you a clip. He was annoyed that the Labour Party announced this. They was ignoring Piers Corbyn, who was trying to ask a question. Piers Corbyn is the brother of Jeremy Corbyn. And yeah, let's have a look at that clip, because Highco didn't take very kindly to the fact that this the Labour Party conference was behaving in the cancel culture of refusing white men the opportunity to ask questions.
Fit a few more questions in, and the nature of how I just want to say something that I think is important, right? So hands down for a second. The nature of me and Gaia chairing this allows us the privilege of handing over a platform. So we're now going to choose young people and people of colour to offer that platform to with questions. We think that's vital.
Is that what you were discussing a couple of minutes ago? To try and prevent Piers from coming in? Is that what you were discussing a couple of minutes ago? To try and prevent Piers from coming in? Is that what you were discussing a couple of minutes ago?
These two women here, please, for me. I'm going to ask you to have some respect for the questions that are coming from the two women with their hands up. So there's woman with purple hair and blue top, yes. Emma, can you help me? Please have a level of kindness and respect for those asking a question. I would appreciate that a lot. Thank you very much.
Women in colour, that's what they just discussed, to try and prevent Piers. That was a method. Yeah, women and people of colour, young people.
Hi,
because Piers isn't that category. Ridiculous. How many of them are young?
I just wanted to ask, given the very overwhelming evidence of the link between proportional representation and faster action on the climate crisis and on environmental legislation.
Yeah, the environmental ministry is the nodal ministry going forward for all policies, because like Jeremy pointed out, we have on the one side going to COP, on the other side trade deals with Australia.
Thank you. Let's take one thing. If we get through these, I will come back to it.
Stitch up.
I've been Shanghai to take the PR question. So look, the reason I think that PR has been put forward by a record number of CLPs to this conference is that people are screaming out for a democratic change in this country. PR isn't a silver bullet, let's be really clear. PR is just one element of the changes that need to take place in this country, some of which I outlined earlier when I was speaking. But look, if you look at some of the most progressive countries, if you want, economies in Western Europe, faults and all, New Zealand, the Scandinavian countries, they have a form of proportional representation. I think the only other country that has first past the post is Belarus. So I think in the entire world, so we're in poor company. So I think ultimately PR means everyone votes count, everyone has an incentive to vote, and I think that's good for democracy. And we know the vast majority of the public, and definitely members, are way ahead of the curve, more progressive than their elected representatives. So anything which can influence those politicians to reflect that representation, that radicalness in the movement, then
But I'm the wrong lap size up to. At the end, I'll give you 30 minutes. Well, I've got 30 minutes before my next session. I'm sure there's no why it's not positive to discuss the fundamental issue of the state. But when people like...
Shut up!
Mate, you need to read the room and now leave.
To ask questions. Why are we having children of 12 years of age being back? You are assaulting me. You're assaulting me.
No, that's not what assault looks like. You now need to leave the room. Thank you. Alright, we're going to actually continue and not allow this level of disruption to derail the campaign.
They're assaulting me. They're assaulting me.
Stop it. I can film him. I can film him. You cannot stop me.
He's just been assaulted. I have every right to
At this point, you need to ask yourself what level of entitlement you think you have.
I'm happy to talk to him.
Both. Okay. Your name? Your name? Kevin Johnston. You assaulted me.
Take your out. Hey!
None of that.
No,
it's legal. It's legal.
No, it wasn't. You thug. You
Call the
thug.
police.
You thug.
Call the police. Call the police. Call the police.
You kick at a man in the face and then the police will charge you, mate.
He punched me in the face. You kicked me in the face.
I will drop a link to a YouTube channel called Correct Not Political. They've got quite extensive footage. They're down in Brighton at the Labour Party conference, and they have got some very interesting footage of this circus pantomime that is occurring, that they're calling the Labour Party conference. It's quite amazing. And to the people of Elsecar and Barnsley, the Labour Party clearly have turned its back on the working class. We saw that in Brexit, and now they are stopping white men who are Labour members from even raising their hands to ask a question at their own party conference. Now, the Tories aren't going to represent the working class either, because I'm going to show you some footage now, and I'll put a link to their channel. They are down at Dover every single day, and they are filming what can only be described as an illegal invasion into the country under this Tory government. Up to 1,000 illegal immigrants are coming over on dinghies through the channel every single day. And our border force is going out. Instead of behaving border force, it's in the name, they are a border farce. They are a taxi service. They are going out collecting these dinghies that are being escorted from the French Navy. So the Tory party they do not represent the working class either. Take a look at this clip.
sail it down the river, would you? Let alone put it out to sea.
But despite the implosion of the Labour Party, turning the back, Keir Starmer, the leader, he doesn't represent the working class. He's a millionaire, a champagne-sipping, champagne socialist. No, and the Labour Party tried stopping Brexit from occurring, and in working class towns like this, Barnsley East voted. I think Barnsley East voted 73% to leave the European Union, and the Labour Party, especially Keir Starmer, was hell-bent on stopping Brexit from occurring. So the Tories promised to deliver Brexit, and they gave a promise to cut down on immigration. But they've accelerated immigration. Like I said, this is record-breaking numbers coming into the channel every single day in the United Kingdom. Now, I've stood in this ward. This ward's part of the Hoyland Milton ward. In the last two local elections, I've stood in this ward. I came second in 2019 when I stood as the UKIP candidate, and this year I stood as an independent candidate. And this year I came third out of 6 candidates. The Tories came second. They was the ones pushing. I nearly got elected in 2019, came second. I finished about 500 votes ahead of the Tories. But then this year, I decided to stand as an independent candidate, and I came third. The Tories was the ones pushing Labour, very close. But there was some very blatant lies being told in that election. You see, there's a local issue here in Barnsley. There's just by junction 36. It's actually in Hoyland Common, which is part of the Rockingham area. It's part of the Rockingham ward. There's a great big massive warehouse being built. It's a Hermes warehouse. I think it's actually the biggest warehouse in Europe. And that's not gone down very well with local residents. The Tory candidate for Hoyland Milton, it might have something to do with the fact that he does live in Hoyland, but he lives in the Rockingham ward. He was just concentrating on this vehemently against this warehouse being built. I'm more concerned. I mean, there is positives to the warehouse being built. I mean, the infrastructure's concerning because the traffic queues for junction 36 in the morning are already a nightmare. So when you have a warehouse of such a size as that, it's only going to get worse, and the infrastructure's not there. The Labour Party allowed this warehouse to be built, and what's more concerning to me is the thousands of houses that are being built. For Labour councils approved it, they approved the warehouse, they've approved thousands of houses to be built on the green belt. It was quite comical that the Tories and their team was they was against this, but it's actually the Tory government that have got rid of all the red tape to allow houses to be built on green belt land. And it's not just Hoyland, Milton, Rockingham area. There's other areas of Barnsley where there's plans for thousands of houses, and we know why the Tories relaxed the rules. The red tape to build on green belt, that's been, this government have pretty much got rid of that. And we know why. It's because the Tories have been in government now for 10 years and they've been allowing in ridiculous, uncontrolled amounts of immigration into the country. So that's why more houses are being built on the green belt up and down the green land, up and down this country. That Tory candidate and his Tory team as well, they did something very naughty. They put on the Facebook, the polls are in and it's not good news. Now, the Hoyland Milton local election this year had 6 candidates, but it chose a screenshot that only had 3 candidates. It had Conservative, Green Party, Independent, with percentages saying, I think it said 46% Tory and then 20-odd% Green Party, 20% Independent, and that was to con the voters. They said if you don't vote for Tory, you're voting for Labour. Now that was blatant lies, let me tell you. They don't do polls for local elections. They only do polls for general elections and by-elections. They do not do polls for local elections. And the Tory candidate and his team knew that, but they still went ahead to produce a fake screenshot of a fake poll to try and manipulate the local election. So you've got to think intentionally, knowingly, blatantly lying to the voters. That just shows dishonesty and a lack of integrity. So I wouldn't vote for the Tories. I wouldn't vote for Labour. I will be standing again as an independent candidate. I'm sure I will be standing again in the next local elections. So if you want to vote, if the working class want to vote for the working class to represent them, you know who to vote for.